Good morning, Morning Musings by Melinda. I'm back in my office today, and it is a damp and rainy morning here in Phoenix. I'm hoping that we'll have some lights shine in from the other side like we have on some other mornings. I just love to see that. It just warms me up inside to see that spirit comes into the room when we're talking. I wanted to talk to you today about the fact that, well, maybe it's not a fact, but the idea that everybody and their brother is something psychic in today's world, either a psychic medium or a spiritual healer or an empath, or, they're labeling themselves in some form or fashion. And in a way, that's really, really great because it means that we're coming into a new kind of consciousness factor. And we're beginning to understand that, the energy of the universe is present all the time. So it's a sign of good, positive energy, but also there's some issues with it because people can say that they're psychic healers or empaths or psychic mediums, and they really aren't taking responsibility for information that's coming through, and they can often damage or hurt other people. It's a very responsible job, and you have to exercise kindness in order to do it, and to do it in a manner in which it makes sense. And I think that there are many, many people right now, because it's kind of a circus out there on Facebook with readings and stuff, isn't it? But I think there are many people who have the ability to get psychic information that are not necessarily good or kind. And I've seen that time and again in this business. And so I know everybody thinks that it's a special gift from God, but I think it's something that we all have the ability to achieve in some form or fashion. It's what we do with it that makes the difference on whether it's a gift or not. So today I just want to talk to you about empathic people. I do believe that more and more people are coming to the planet being empathic and understanding energy at a very core bodily level, at a very intuitive level. And believe me, I'm not discounting this movement of people who are trying to achieve spiritually in some form or fashion. I'm just saying we need to exercise caution as we're on that curve of energetic learning, and remember that not everybody is as connected as they might say that they are. But an empath is something different. Empath actually takes people's emotions on as their own. A lot of people wear this I am an empath like a badge of honor, and it's tough, actually. It's not always a wonderful thing to be empathic, because not only do you feel other people's emotions, but sometimes you feel them in such a manner as if they feel as if they're your own. And that can be very difficult to, split hairs and decide what's yours and what's theirs, and make sure that you are honoring the source of self and not taking on other people's issues. If you take on other people's issues, you can't be a healer. By the way, you can't be a healer. The word healer is different, because you can't be a healer unless you have kindness and an ability to work out of kindness. Otherwise, you're not a healer. You're just claiming that. So an empath sometimes experiences sudden, overwhelming emotions in public, because again, the energy is hitting them in such a manner that they feel somebody else's emotion or something overwhelming. Like, for example, on a plane. Everybody's a little bit anxious on a plane, maybe not in fear of flying, but, they've got a destination, or they've got a connecting flight, or, they're flying for a work project, they're flying for a family issue. It's not always flying for vacations and fun. So an empath on an airplane stuck in that energy can really feel all those feelings of anxiety and so on, okay? The vibration in a room matters to an empath. Bill and I just had a very big discussion about that with the kind of artwork and the kind of things that we're putting in our home, because there was one or two pieces that he had brought with him when we got together that the vibration just didn't work for me. And I hated saying to him, we need to change that, because I, don't want him to feel like I don't honor who he is, which I do. But it was a continued vibrational frequency that felt uncomfortable. When we finally decided to change it and work together and got some things together, he said, the vibration feels so much better, so much calmer in the room. And we made this really cool ancestral hallway, which I will show you on Facebook someday, because it's really a fabulous thing to honor your ancestors and the vibrational frequency of your soul coming into the planet. So the vibe in the room matters a lot to an empath. An empath often understands where people are coming from. They are very relatable, meaning that they relate to your issues, your hurts, your wounds, etc. And so an empath is got a core trait of being able to fundamentally understand and connect with others. Now, that is a good trait. People turn to an empath for advice. Sometimes empaths will be just out in public and somebody in the grocery line will start telling the entire life story to an empath. Empaths have difficulty watching tragic or violent events on TV. It can completely incapacitate an empath. And so when you're empathic, it's important not to look at the news over and over and over again, okay? An empath can't contain the love that they feel for their pets, their animals, or their babies. They just are filled with love because, the most empathic creature on the earth is a dog, God spelled backwards. And, when we come into the planet early on, children are extremely psychic until they start to have the energy of the world pouring in. Sometimes an empath might feel people's illnesses too, and not just their emotions. And they're drawn to roles like nurses and doctors and elder care providers, which is, again, a double-edged sword because an empath needs to learn how to shut that empathic energy off in such a manner that they're not constantly incapacitated by other people's energy. A simple prayer, God, be a part of everything I think, say, and do, puts the chakras completely back in alignment and will put an empath back into an alignment. Number 9, an empath can be overwhelmed in intimate relationships. Because a relationship is challenging, an empath can have difficulty with boundaries with their partner. And if their partner is got some healthy boundaries, an empath kind of tries to work into either rigid boundaries or loose boundaries to try to, make that connection because they're not accustomed to somebody putting a boundary around them. Number 10, empaths are walking lie detectors. They know when people are lying, and usually the people who are lying know that the empath knows that they're lying, and it becomes a kind of standoff of energy. Number 11, empaths can't understand why any leader wouldn't put their teams first. An empathic is a team player. They want other people to succeed, and they are absolutely that kind of leader that lets their team shine. Empaths have calming effect on other people and the power to heal them. Now remember, you're not an empathic healer if you're embroiled in so much personal turmoil and you haven't worked through your own karmic profile and taken responsibility for your shadow side. You're not a healer unless you are honoring basic law of attractions and understanding how universal energy works. So if you're doing something that creates discord, then you're not an empath, okay? And you're not a healer. You may be empathic with a shadow side. Okay, number 13, and lastly, an empath, when they see someone in pain, wants to help. Be careful of what I call the savior syndrome. Some empaths go into savior mode, even in relationships, and then it turns into something very painful for the empath because they're trying so hard to save somebody else that they negate themselves. Remember, number one rule in the universal scheme of things is that you're here on the planet for your own soul first, not for your children's soul, not for your spouse's soul, not for anybody else's soul, but your own soul. That you and your soul have an agreement on a karmic profile, a contract coming into the world, that you have to learn certain lessons and be functionable in such a manner that you get to heaven with a unpacked suitcase. And empaths often pack their suitcase up with energy, and don't give themselves a break in finding that balance. So, worries are not empathy, Kathy Cutler. Worries are worries. Okay, I saw some of the comments. Listen, I appreciate it so much when you comment. Number one, the algorithm of Facebook, if you comment and share, these things drop in for you more often. So that's important. Also, I think it's really important that we give these lessons every day on Facebook. You know, I noticed Deepak Chopra is now doing some of that too. And I really honor that because it means that, you know, someone who has been elevated in a spiritual manner where they don't have to do this kind of thing, is doing it just out of the goodness of their heart, which is exactly what I am doing. I am busy all the time. That's why oftentimes we have a switch of time, 6:30, 7:30, depending on my first client. And I think it's really important to know that there are people that work hard in spirituality that are trying to give to you some positive energy and feedback, and we appreciate yours. Have a wonderful day.